Hello, this is Pixie doing another video. So, I've talked about in the past, I was looking into things like a Trinity, and I was also stimulated by Jordan Peterson. They had a conversation, and I think he mentioned order and chaos, and it's something that just seems to play as a good theme throughout life, really. And then also, how do we place order and chaos? Sometimes we assume that chaos is a dark force and therefore it's considered evil, and why people sometimes can assume that basically order is some form of good because it means, you know, the right path and all these other manifestations, I guess. But there's something else that's further than that. And that's for the Trinity, it's control. So, you know, you could have a religious order and in appearance their systematic behaviour may be seen as righteous, but actually what they're doing could be very dark. You know, put people to death because they're heretics or they're different views. That plays into that kind of themed thinking. But then equally, chaos, you know, it might start out as a good thing. Maybe it's considered progression, that you're moving forward, but because it doesn't have any confinement to its structure, it keeps on going through changes. And it's utilised by control. So control is the third wheel, or the third column maybe in this kind of psychological thing. Now some people might say, well, isn't that like consciousness, something driving it forward? Or it could be will, but both chaos and also with order have a kind of will there. So what creates order is usually repeating patterns, and then they become stabilised fixtures, and then they become like laws or rules. And it's sort of interesting how the structures of our life develop and the implications of this thinking towards our daily life, because a lot of us feel that we're in control, but actually we're just following an order. It's like when you go to work and you have a set pattern. I mean, within it there is limited control, but you're not changing your destiny, you're not driving it forward in a particular way. Maybe that you're working or following this particular pattern or social structure in order to get somewhere. You know, sometimes people live out of the box as well. They live in the chaos, they seek control in chaos. So look for opportunity. Like if you lived in the wilderness, at first it would be a case of making sense of your environment, adapting all the time, which is something you get from chaos. It offers you opportunity to adapt, because if you want to thrive, you have to. If you don't, you'll get transmuted. That's pretty much the structure of chaos, is that it creates forms, but they're not there forever. They're like transitions. And then where does control play? Well, I guess in the dawn of the universe, that these kind of run off like programs. So the first of creation probably was from chaos, and it gave all variability. The purpose of chaos was to expand that diversity and range to the maximum, and structures out that would come forth that become more stable, and then as a result, as order's born from chaos, and patterns emerge. But the only problem with patterns and stable structures of order is it rejects things that don't fit into its order. And that's often an issue with, you know, like science, for instance. They might see it as the ultimate truth, when it is probably a form of order. It's putting things into a structure, but anything that doesn't fit into the science is rejected, which is its downside, is that the order could be ineffective, and the only way it can be broken maybe is through chaos or control. And control limits how much, or maximises how much the use of something you utilise. Like, I do have control over how long I go to work. I don't necessarily control necessarily when I go to work. There's usually instinctive patterns of behaviour. And if you kind of breach them, you do have a kind of weird sensation of like you should be there. So there's this kind of must be maintained because there's stability in order, but you don't necessarily utilise control over that. So it's a bit strange. It's a bit like there's things you do as a pattern every day that you don't notice that you're doing, and there's things in your life that you can change. So if we went and talked about MGTOW, for example, you know, people have fallen into a pattern of thinking, and that has started to work against them because the order of society's changed, but the order of the behaviour hasn't changed, and it's just following something that's tribal. That you find a partner, you marry, you do this. I mean, that's what the man's, maybe the male plan. I was thinking about that as well, is that there tends to be more males at a younger age, but because we have certain reckless behaviour, we tend to cull ourselves to a certain degree. So when women are younger, they might sort of play the field a bit, and then when they're a bit more older, they might be a bit more selective who they're going to have a partner with, because they want somebody who has these survival traits. And you might partner up with somebody who appears to be slightly chaotic, I guess. But then when you go for an older partner, you're looking for somebody who's got more order, because he seems to have stability, he has patterns and traits that will support children, and infrastructure. The other one, where chaos has possibilities, and it opens that person up to the excitement of this individual, like they're spontaneous and they might do things that they don't fall into certain patterns, because it's kind of educational as well, as you're learning about these different types of people. So I don't look down on anyone sort of, you know, if they've gone from one extreme to the next necessarily, or what partner they choose, but they might not ever have the same relationship. So if that first relationship was really powerful, I mean, I'm not going to get it from somebody who's socially very follows these orders and patterns. But it may be the other things that are there, and it's what people are looking for. So if they're looking for, you know, if they're looking for somebody that's going to be the life of the party, bring all this energy in, I mean, you could be at risk of using that person. So it's kind of like controlling. Now you've got to put the controls in. You're not happy with the structure, so you put the control in, and then you try to function and have a new functional order. Because I mean, order's also the functional side of things. And why the chaos is the creative side of things as well. So it puts out these different structures, and as a human being, you utilise different areas of your mind. Like, you know, like sometimes if your life seems like it's turned upside down, you put a plan together, so you put some kind of order, but you're also putting the controls in there. Like, this is where I want to be. This is how much time I want to focus on getting it done, and things like that. So it's kind of a driven will, but it's also independent. Control's independent of order and chaos, but it's there in order to be a guiding force, so they can sort of, I guess, manifest the best outcome for yourself. That's really what you're doing. So I think it's kind of important to think about, you think, and just also how much control in your own life. Like, I did a pattern of behaviour yesterday. I didn't feel like I accomplished much, but then I sent a few emails and I felt like I did accomplish something, because I did something I intended to do, which was the control part. You know, maybe it was manifest from a kind of a chaos of thinking or a desire for order, but the actual behaviour was under a control. And if you do something that's different, that's more control. You're pushing yourself out of your boundaries. Come on, that's it. And I guess with control, it can be a projected force as well. Maybe it can be used as people talk about intention, and that could also be considered control. But and sometimes the intention is wanting something to happen, but then actually being able to project the influence, which is more in the kind of magical realm, in that everything's connected and everything has a vibration, and everything it has when it's sort of connecting with each other, but there's a kind of communion, and you can stimulate the outcome by influencing the very forces that make the things in the universe around you, you're made out of yourself. So that's kind of in that thought way. You're thinking, where's he going? So there we go. That's the video thoughts of today. I guess I have to sort of at some point put it into a book, Trinity, but it's also with this tool set putting it into practice, because you can model your behaviour on other people's, but you're controlling to be like that. But however, you want to be able to be yourself, which is more in control of your life and your destiny, and not seeing yourself as a part of a circus, which you're caught up in, either entering chaos or substructures that have been created with government order, and you're actually less functional as an individual, but you're serving purposes for two different kind of opposing forces. Anyway, this is Peter, sign up and have a great one. Bye.